Hi, I just got off the phone a little bit ago with a nice lady from Massachusetts uh, who had a reverse mortgage and was really scared because she owed past due property taxes. And she'd been threatened for foreclosure because of these past due property taxes. And she had limited income and she was worried. And on top of that, she'd been sued by a couple of creditors in small claims court. So I thought this would be a good chance to talk about reverse mortgages and property taxes, because this issue comes up fair enough, quite a bit. And I know how to help people on these issues and tell them what they can do. So my name is Eric Olson. I'm the Director of HELPS. We represent seniors and disabled persons who owe debt they can't afford to pay in order to stop debt collector harassment. We also educate them how they can maintain their financial independence. I've been an attorney for 42 years, probably filed close to 40,000 bankruptcies before I started HELPS. So I have a lot of experience with the reverse mortgages and how they work and what happens. For a lot of seniors, reverse mortgage is an answer to prayer. There's a lot of misinformation about reverse mortgages. People sometimes throw the baby out with the bathwater with the reverse mortgage. So to get to what I want to talk about, when you get a reverse mortgage, there's two ways of doing it. The reverse mortgage can either provide that it's going to pay your property taxes and insurance, or it's going to provide that you need to maintain the property taxes and insurance. Sometimes it'll be mandatory that you have to pay the property taxes and insurance through the reverse mortgage. In other words, from the equity you have in your home, they're going to make the payment, and you don't have a choice. And that's if you've got if your mortgage payment was behind when you got the reverse mortgage, or if there's some other credit issues that made the reverse mortgage company, when you got the reverse mortgage, mandate that they pay the property taxes and insurance. But most of them, the senior's responsible for paying the property taxes and insurance. And that's the way it was for this lady. And it's something happened where her income went down. Forget if she was widowed, her husband's income went away. So she didn't have as much income as she did before. And she got behind on her property taxes to the tune of $6,000. And what happened is that, and this happens a lot, the reverse mortgage company went ahead and they paid her property taxes for her, okay? And then they sent her a letter saying, hey, you owe us this money for these property taxes. And they may have threatened that they were going to foreclose or that she needed to contact them. But I'll tell you what happened in this instance. She contacted them and she worked out an agreement with the reverse mortgage company that if she would pay them around $130 a month, she could do that, and she had to maintain her current property taxes. So she lives in Massachusetts, which has a lot of property taxes, and I think the bill was like $4,500 a year. So I explained to her, so she understands that she has to pay the $300 on the current property taxes each month, or a little bit more than that to keep them current. Plus, she's going to have to pay the reverse mortgage company the $130 a month to pay them back for what they advanced for on the money they paid to catch her up on the property taxes. Well, what happened was the reverse mortgage company sold the loan to another reverse mortgage company, to another lender, okay? Now, and that lender sent her a letter saying, hey, you're in default on the property taxes for this $6,000. Unless you pay us, we're going to foreclose on you, okay? They sent some type of notice indicating they were going to foreclose. And so she had been really distressed and worried about that and upset, and she called HELPS, and I happened to talk to her. So what I explained to her, I said, well, if you made an agreement with the prior lender, and she had, and you made a payment to them and they accepted it, and she had, and she was current on that payment, just because that old lender, old reverse mortgage company that she had the loan with, sold it to a new lender, doesn't mean that her agreement with that prior lender is gone. The new lender got her loan with the same conditions and agreements as she had with the prior mortgage company, prior reverse mortgage company. So they couldn't just say, you're in default, we're going to foreclose on you. They have to honor the agreement as long as she's in compliance. Now, I did explain to her, if you go into default on the future property taxes, then they can consider that other agreement void, because part of that agreement you made was that you were going to stay current on your current property taxes. So I explained to her, you just keep making that payment. Actually, I sent her an email telling her that, and I said, you can show that to them. They're not going to foreclose. And if they did, it wouldn't be legal for them to do that. But let's say, for example, she had made a mistake and it was wrong, and they did foreclose. Okay, she owed $6,000 in past due property taxes. The worst case scenario is she could file a form of bankruptcy called a Chapter 13. She lives in Massachusetts, which has a homestead exemption of $300,000. She doesn't have any equity over that. She could file what's called a Chapter 13 and pay the $6,000 in property taxes over as long as 5 years. She might have a payment of somewhere between, $150 to $200 a month, because if she filed a 13, she's going to have to to pay an attorney to file that for her. Most attorneys that file Chapter 13s, or a lot of them, will agree to have their fees put in the Chapter 13 plan. So she could do that if she had to. But then she'd have to pay the current property taxes, which are a little bit less than $400, plus an extra $200 of Chapter 13, which is $600, and her income was only $2,200. That would make things kind of tight. But if she could get away with paying her agreement with the prior reverse mortgage company to pay them, that she had with them to catch up on the past due property taxes by paying $130, she's going to save $70. It's going to get paid off faster. She's not going to have to file bankruptcy or deal with the headache of going to bankruptcy trustee, going to court, and all that kind of stuff. So that's how this problem was solved. But let's say that you're a senior and you're behind on your property taxes and you have a reverse mortgage, and you're threatened with foreclosure. Now, you can do what this lady did. You can contact them and try to work out a monthly payment, and they're more likely not they're going to do that with you. Now, if you can't get through with someone, or there's a problem, depending on how much you owe, you could just start sending them some money each month, and just send it along with a letter saying, here's $250 towards the past due property taxes that you paid on my behalf. And that will go through to the right person, and if they accept it, they're not going to foreclose on you. They're likely to continue to accept that each and every month. Now, let's say you owe property taxes and they haven't been paid, and the reverse mortgage company hasn't paid those on your behalf, and you're behind on your property taxes and you have a reverse mortgage. Well, one thing is, if you get too far behind, the county can foreclose, and that's why the reverse mortgage company wants those made current, because they don't want to have to go through that. So if you're behind to the county and the reverse mortgage hasn't paid them on your behalf, what you could do is you need to start making payments to the county so you don't get farther behind, okay? And then you could simply write the reverse mortgage company and say, I'm paying X amount of dollars to the county, plus keep them current on the current property taxes, and keep it from going out of foreclosure. You just write them without communicating with them. They're going to put that in the file. That might be enough to get them off your back so that they don't do anything more. They can read that. As long as you do that, there's a good chance that you won't have to do anything more other than that. Sometimes trying to reach them on the phone and getting an agreement could be difficult because you don't know who you're talking to. The person you're talking to may not have any authority other than telling you you have to pay the full amount or we're going to foreclose. Well, that's what they're trained to say, but they may not actually do that. That's why if you make some type of payment and let them know that you're making that payment, even without their agreeing to it, they're more like there's a good chance they're just going to accept it and not pursue it further as long as they see that you're making that payment each month. So this is a kind of scenario that gave reverse mortgages a bad name for some people. You know, people are behind on their property taxes, they get foreclosed, and then they tell them, "Oh, I did a reverse mortgage and lost my home." Well, that's not quite the case. When you made the reverse mortgage, you made an agreement to stay current on the property taxes. Had you not got the reverse mortgage, you may not have been able to keep the home in the first place. It may have been gone 3 or 4, 5 or 10 years ago when you did the reverse mortgage. And the only reason you're being foreclosed is you didn't keep up with your agreement to keep making the first mortgage to pay the property tax payment. Because of that, in the last several years, reverse mortgages have been a lot more stringent upon approving people for reverse mortgage to make sure that they can maintain their property taxes. That's why sometimes they'll require that the property taxes be put inside the reverse mortgage that they pay them. And for that reason, sometimes a person may not qualify for a reverse mortgage because they've had such a problem with their mortgage before that the reverse mortgage company making the loan, the lender can say, this person, based on their income, probably aren't going to be able to pay the property taxes, and they don't have enough equity for us to pay the property taxes from the proceeds from the reverse mortgage. Therefore, they're not going to qualify to get a reverse mortgage. Okay? You got to remember, a reverse mortgage, the amount you get depends on a couple things. Number one, the person's age. Okay? The older you are, the more you can get out of on a reverse mortgage. Number two, how much equity you have in the property. And recently property values have gone up, so a lot of people that weren't able to get reverse mortgages 2 or 3 years ago might be able to get one today because the property has gone up. And some people who even have a reverse mortgage might even be able to qualify to get more out of their reverse. You can actually get more out of a reverse mortgage after you've got one. It's possible to go back and apply for more money. So reverse mortgages, for a lot of seniors, they're a godsend. They're an answer to prayer. Lets them keep it home. They still keep the home. You still own it. You can still sell it if you need to. You can live in it to the day you die, but you do need to keep up with your property taxes. You're also supposed to maintain the home, but they're not quite as strict on that as they are on maintaining the property taxes. They don't send someone by to inspect your home to make sure that everything is up on the up and up, but they do want to make sure your property taxes are paid. And I explained, if you've got a problem, different ways you can get at it. And the worst case scenario for a lot of seniors, they could file a type of bankruptcy called a Chapter 13 to stop a foreclosure so they don't lose their home to a reverse mortgage lender because of past due property taxes. So my name is Eric Olson. I'm the Executive Director of HELPS. Our main function is to protect seniors from collector harassment. If they owe debt to credit cards, medical bills, those kind of things, their income is protected, Social Security, their pension, their disability, their VA benefit doesn't need to be used to pay that debt. It can't be taken from them, so they can use that money for their basic needs. And so if you're a senior that has these kind of problems, you should understand that your income's protected. You don't have to pay the debt, and you can be protected from collector harassment. You can learn more about us by visiting our website down below, www.helpsishere.org. You can also call us toll free at 855-HELPS-US or HELPS US, HELPS US, or HELPS US. If you like this video, please click on subscribe, and you guys have a great day.